Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm sure a few more people will join shortly. But today we have Panu Sauko, who is going to be presenting on the topic of managing Windows Phone 8 and RT devices with Windows Intune and or Config Manager 2012 SP1. And he's going to try and watch for questions on the instant message side. So if you have questions, feel free to type them out. If we missed your question during the conversation, please repost it again at the end, and we'll try and capture them, anything that we missed at the end of the presentation. So go ahead, Panu, if you'd like to introduce yourself or do anything else before you go ahead and present your session today.
Okay, so thank you, and welcome from cloudy Helsinki, Finland. So my name is Panu Sauko, and I'm MVP for Enterprise Client Management. That used to be Config Manager. I have been Config Manager MVP for the last 9 years. So I suppose we should get started with the daily topic. So we will cover through the Windows Phone and RT device management with Microsoft technologies, and we have different options to do that. So for mobile device management, Microsoft has 3 technologies. First of all, there is Exchange ActiveSync, which provides the most limited management functionality. Then you have Windows Intune, and the third one is when you integrate Windows Intune to System Sensor Configuration Manager. So the real mobile device management is handled by Windows Intune. So if you are having a Config Manager 2012 SP1 environment, you have to integrate your Config Manager environment to Windows Intune to get these management features available. But you don't have to have a Config Manager. You can manage your mobile devices just with Windows Intune. With Windows Intune, when it's integrated to Config Manager, and also you can integrate Exchange ActiveSync to Config Manager, you have a single admin console from Config Manager, which gives you information from all your Windows PCs, Linux, Unix machines, Mac OS X devices, and also those mobile devices. And those information from those mobile devices can come via Exchange ActiveSync or from Intune. So Exchange ActiveSync supports any ActiveSync enabled device, and with the other mobile devices, with Intune you can manage Windows RT, Windows Phone 8, iOS and Android devices. But today's topic is Windows Phone 8 and Windows RT. That's mainly because I come from Finland, which is a Nokia country, and we don't care about those non-Nokia devices, and that's why Windows Phone 8 is the best and greatest OS, mobile OS that there is. And if we look a little bit close about those management technologies, what you can do with Exchange ActiveSync and with Intune. With ActiveSync, you have quite limited inventory, settings management, mainly for security-related settings and email settings, but you don't get any software distribution functionality. Exchange ActiveSync doesn't require any specific management license, so if you just have your Exchange client access license, that's good for also management for those ActiveSync devices. With Windows Intune, either with config manager support or without, you get a little bit better inventory, settings management, and the main thing is you get software distribution to your mobile devices. Windows Intune requires all license, and if you already have your config manager license, you need to buy Windows Intune add-on license for config manager. Here's the overview of the deployment process. We are not today going to cover much about this deployment. There is a link at the end of the slide deck for a couple of sessions that were last week at TechEd US, where this deployment process was covered much better. And because we don't have that much time, today we're going to go more about what you can actually do when you have your mobile devices enrolled. And also we're going to cover how do you configure config manager with Intune, and how you can verify that you are successfully connected config manager to your Windows Intune environment. There's a couple of gotchas that you need to remember. The first thing is that if you want to do any kind of application deployment for Windows Phone 8, Windows Phone 8 requires a code signing certificate. And for that purposes, you first have to get a Windows Phone developer publisher ID, and that will cost you $99 per year. And when you got this publisher ID, you can then order code signing certificate from Symantec, and that would cost you $299 per year. Also, you need to have Windows Phone SDK. You only need this SAP sign tool from that SDK, and then you need to have a Windows Phone 8 company portal. The main purpose of all this process is that you need to sign the company portal app and all your own applications, line of business applications that you have developed with that signing certificate. And many people didn't like about this process. Fortunately, Microsoft heard about the problem to get this certificates, and by fall, even if you want to just test this Windows Phone 8 management with Intune and config manager, and Microsoft has released a tool for Windows Intune trial management of Windows Phone 8, and I got a link, and let's wait for a while. But basically what you get a sample signed Windows Phone 8 company portal app. Oops. And then you have two sample Windows Phone apps. I have downloaded, and I need to check that if that's correctly. But it is quite easy to find from Microsoft Download Center. And with these utilities, you don't have to buy anything, and you can just start using the product. So that's very welcome news. So then, how about this enrollment? So when you are going do the integration with Windows Intune, first of all, you of course need to have your Windows Intune subscription. And for that subscription, you need to, before you can integrate Config Manager, you need to have a collection for those user accounts who can enroll devices. But first of all, let's check about some of those prerequisites. And I got from my let's see. And now I have to reassign because my connection has timed out. So what I have done is I have my Windows Intune subscription, and I have configured Active Directory synchronization, and I have successfully get user accounts from my AD. So if you check my Active Directory, I have multiple user accounts, and for this user account, I have defined as user principal name the same domain name that I've been using with my Windows Intune. If this would be a real environment, most probably, I would edit my local domain to Windows Intune. Over there, there's an add a domain, and if I want to do this add a domain, I have to prove Microsoft that I'm a owner of that domain, and I had to put on CNAME just to modify the DNS records. And that's like verification mechanism that I do know that I'm the rightful owner of that domain. So if I want to do, there's a verification method that I have to do, and over there you can see what kind of record I should be doing to that DNS. But for this purpose, I haven't done that. And now I just have my single domain, rednosereindeer.onmicrosoft.com. And to get those user accounts from my domain to the Intune, I have installed directory synchronization utility to my domain, which will then synchronize my user accounts to the Intune. And it's important that the UPN of my user account is the same domain that is activated on my Windows Intune account. And because I haven't added a real domain to Windows Intune, I'm using my UPN, the same on Microsoft.com domain that I'm using. So that's one of the first steps you should be doing. Also, if you don't use ADFS, then you have to manually reset user password, and that's going to be a hassle in production environment, and that's why this Intune synchronization without ADFS, it is too much problematic for the users because they have a different password for Windows Intune and a different password at AD. So So over here, I have these user accounts. I also have my Windows Intune admin console, but mostly I wouldn't do anything from there because the mobile devices will be managed by config manager. So now if we go back to the slides. And when you create that collection for the people who can enroll the devices, you must remember that a single user can enroll maximum 20 devices. And Microsoft's point of view is that the user is the person who will initiate this enrollment process. And a couple of minor details. This directory synchronization is run every 3 hours by default. You can manually run more often if you want. In the specific case, if the user is first added to the collection and the user hasn't been yet synchronized to Intune, there is up to 24-hour delay before the user can enroll the device. By default, config manager assumes that all those users who are added to these collections have been synchronized to the Windows Intune Active Directory already. And when you have this signed company portal app, it is quite easy to create a new application for that. You just select that this is Windows Phone App Package, and then point to the right UNC path, and you see the information of that app, and then you just define the name and comment for this application. And that's about all. You need to remember to distribute the content to Windows Intune, but you should do that after you have created the connector. So you can create the Intune connector from your config manager console. In the administration workspace, there is Windows Intune subscription. You can have only one Windows Intune subscription, which is connected to config manager. You just sign in with your Windows Intune user account, and over there you have a checkbox. Allow the configuration manager console to manage this subscription. That means that you cannot use just Windows Intune to manage mobile devices. All the mobile device management from that Windows Intune subscription will be then managed by Microsoft. And this setting cannot be reversed without contacting Microsoft's support. So that's very important. You could actually use the same Windows Intune subscription to manage Windows PCs. That's okay. But mobile devices, when you integrate with config manager, that's it. And if you have need to manage some other set of mobile devices with just Windows Intune, then you need to have a separate Windows Intune account. And the next step is you define the collection for those users. You give a company name, URL for the privacy documentation, color scheme, and what is the site code. And then you define which mobile device platforms you want to support. You can add more platforms later. So when you are first doing the integration, you could leave all these checkboxes empty, and then later on decide that, okay, I want to start managing Windows RT, that's fine. You can just go on the console and edit those. For Windows RT, you need a couple of things. You need code signing certificate for those EPPX application packages and also side loading keys. We will cover those a little bit later. And for Windows Phone 8, you need also code signing certificate and what is your company portal app. And that's it. And when you have done this integration, you get a new site system, manage.microsoft.com, and that will be a distribution point in your config manager environment. And you need to remember to distribute all your software that is targeted to mobile devices to that DB. And then you need manually to add new site system role. It's a normal procedure and you need to select Windows Intune connector. The purpose of this site system role is that a Windows Intune connector site system role, it synchronizes policies that you define in the config manager to Windows Intune, and also when you get information like inventory information or settings management or application distribution status back to the config manager. There are a couple of log files that are useful. Cloud user sync.log. It is a log file for config manager user collection synchronization to Windows Intune, so you know that it has been successful. Also, you have DPM down and uploaded.log, which gives you more detail about those data flow from and to Intune. So let's go and check a little bit about that. Settings in config manager. So in the administration, hierarchy configuration, Windows Intune subscriptions, you can see that there is one subscription and what are the settings have been defined. And for example, if I would like to enable iOS support, I could just enable that. Also for those log files, there is cloud users log, and then what we have DBM downloader. Normally, it will download every 5 minutes if there are something to get from that Intune. So how do you enroll Windows Phone 8? As you can see, I have really managed to get so nice pictures from the real device. It was a little bit hassle how to get any readable pictures from the screens of Windows Phone, so sorry about that. On your Windows 8 phone, if you go to the settings, there is special setting company apps, and from there you have add account. You give your email address and password, and if you haven't configured your own local domain and you haven't defined CNAME that for your DNS that will point to the manage.microsoft.com, this will fail, and on the next screen then you can manually enter manage.microsoft.com. And if that is successful, you get information that account has been added, and then option to install company Apple Hub. And that will automatically install company portal app to your Windows Phone 8 device. And when you have enrolled, you could see what is the name of the company that has enrolled the device. With Windows RT, it is much easier. In the control panel system, there's own application company apps, and if you start that, you just give your email address, so that is your user account, to Windows Intune, a password, and then the same thing. If it cannot locate the right server name automatically, then you have to manually enter that manage.microsoft.com, and then you're done. So that was that enrollment process when you have managed to successfully get all those necessary prerequisites. So what is the inventory then look like? If we first go to the ActiveSync inventory is quite limited. What do you get? You get what is the OS in your Windows Phone. Then, as you can see, that device model, it is not the friendly name, but that's the official formal name of the device, or the device model. But there's a couple of things that you cannot get from the other systems. It is, for example, mobile operator and device IMEI information. With Windows Intune, it's a little bit better looking user interface, and you get a nice, friendly manufacturer model from your devices and the operating system and the language of the Windows Phone. And with Config Manager, you get more information. You get a device management version, firmware version, the exact OS version, also the certificate expiration date. So that's the most complete information you can get with these different environments. With Windows RT devices from Windows Intune, you get operating system information and some storage information and Wi-Fi MAC address. But Windows Intune doesn't give you that much information. With Config Manager, it is much more complete, and we can go and check that. So first of all, that's my Windows RT. Let's go here. This is the mobile phone information with Config Manager. So you get manufacturer model. Over here, you get the same information, this device management version, firmware, platform type. So that's the name of the operating system with Exchange ActiveSync, and over here you can see the software version. OS information gives you the language, processor, just a cryptic 5, so not that much. And over here you have last hardware scan cycle, and also you can get this hardware history because it's a normal Config Manager hardware inventory. And with Windows RT, you get more information. So over here I got Microsoft Surface, time zone, certificate expiry, logical disk, information about that, network adapter configuration. Over here you can see the IP address and MAC address, operating system, local setting, free physical memory. That's quite nice. OS language, physical memory, processor, system includes sandbox. This is stated. So that is quite nice information what you could get from those RT machines. If you want to run the inventory manually, if you on the Windows Phone 8, you go to the settings and company apps. Over there, if you click the name of the company that has enrolled, there is a specific refresh button that you can touch. With Windows RT, you need to run mdm agent.exe, and that forces the synchronization to the Windows instance. Then if we go to the settings management, with Windows Intune, you have the following settings that you manage. There are password related settings. So is the password required for those devices? How long the password should be? Should it be complex, or is it just a PIN enough? There is one setting that is not available in the config manager, that is allow picture, password, and PIN. And also you have Exchange ActiveSync related settings, and then is encryption required on mobile devices. With config manager, the UI is completely different. When you start to do those configuration items for mobile devices, there are a lot of different categories, and not all of those are possible for Windows Phone 8 and Windows RT devices. So what are possible are the same password settings. And then for security, there's option for enabling removable storage. Also for Windows RT machines, you can provide VPN profiles. You need to create those VPN profile XML files with Connection Manager Administration Kit, and that CMAC file require that CMAC is run on the same processor architecture than target machines. So you need to have a Windows 32-bit machine, like a normal Windows 8 device, and get that XML file from there. With encryption, you can set file encryption on mobile devices, if that is required or not. For certificates, that is only for Windows RT devices, and that is important feature if you want to deploy applications and you need to get applications from multiple different vendors, because each vendor most probably use a different certificate, and all those certificates must be trusted by Windows Otherwise, that application deployment will fail. So there's a very good probability that you will need to have this kind of certificate management with your Windows RT devices. The nice thing is that when you are creating that CI, there is platform applicability screen, and you can see which settings are not supported in which platforms. So you can see that, for example, that password complexity and file encryption on mobile devices, they are not supported on Windows RT, so they are only supported on Windows Phone 8, and the certificate setting is supported on Windows Phone 8. There are a couple of actions you could do for your mobile devices. You could retire a device, and that means that it is removed from Config Manager, and it leaves all the personal data and settings unchanged. But all the installed apps are uninstalled on Windows Phone 8, and that includes also Company Portal. And for Windows RT, it removes Windows RT sideloading key, and if that key is removed, then those sideloaded apps will not run. And user can also retire their personal devices. With wipe, it deletes all data and reverts the device to manufacturer's defaults. So that is useful when the device is, for example, stolen. And the admin can issue this from Config Manager console, or user can start a wipe process from application catalog. So, for example, if the user has also like Windows 7, Windows 8 PC, the user can go to the application catalog, and over there he or she can see all those devices that are connected to the user, and the user can select any device and say, okay, I want to wipe. Windows Phone 8 and Windows RT by default, they connect to Windows Intune every 24 hours. So there might be up to 24-hour delay before these commands are run. So that's something that you should be aware of. Also, you could do block, and that just means that clients cannot communicate with Config Manager anymore, so they don't get any new policies. And that's like if you want to temporarily say that, okay, I don't want that to be device be managed for some time. And those clients can be blocked. And that will happen from Config Manager console. And if you delete the device from Config Manager, then no data is removed, but the user must re-enroll to be managed again. And all those commands are coming from Config Manager console. So let's go back to the Config Manager console. And first of all, let's check for those configuration items. So if I create a new configuration item, give it some name, and it's a mobile device, and I can then select which settings I want to put over here. And if I, for example, require password maximum 4 characters, email setting, these are not applicable for Windows Phone or Windows RT devices. Let's put removable storage, allowed encryption, let's put some file encryption, about storage card encryption, certificates, let's leave that empty. And now I'm going to take my Windows Phone 8 and Windows RT devices only. And I can see that, okay, this storage card encryption, that is not applicable for those devices. So then I could go back and deselect that settings. So that's a really nice summary. And if you go for those devices, and when I see some of those devices, I could have a block, retry or wipe. Fortunately, it asks about confirmation, so you cannot accidentally wipe the device. Okay, so let's go then to back to the slides. And for application deployment. So, what do you need for Windows RT? First of all, you need this Windows RT sideloading key. You need to get that from Microsoft. It has a specific price, so like a Mac key, similar kind of key. Then all those applications that you want to deploy, so those APPX applications which are made by your own company or some vendor, they must be signed by a trusted certificate. And when you configure RT devices support for Windows Intune, you can specify one signing certificate. So if you have multiple software vendors, then you somehow need to deploy those certificates to Windows RT devices. And for that purpose, that settings management is really useful. Those APPX software, they can run on 32, 64 Intel processors or ARM processors. So when the developer deploys or builds the application, the developer can say that will this software run on any CPU or just, for example, 64-bit Intel processors. So that software must be signed with either with any CPU or ARM option. Also, there's a registry parameter on Windows RT machines. Luckily, that's automatically set when Windows RT is enrolled, so you don't have to worry about that. And also, if you want to deploy Windows Store apps to your Windows RT devices, then you have to have a normal Windows 8 machines, because Config Manager browses that Windows 8 machines for those Windows Store apps. So if you have want to import a new application, you just point UNC where your APPX file is, and you select type Windows App Package. And when you import the application, you can see with architecture that it should be neutral or ARM for Windows RT devices. Then you can specify your name for the application, version numbers, and that's it. With Windows Store apps, it's a little bit different. You select the type of Windows App Package in the Windows Store and then browse, and you connect to Windows 8 machine, and you will see all those applications that are installed on that target machine. Then you import the information from that and you give a name. Couple of things to remember. When you deploy those applications, it's quite important to modify application catalog tab and give the name for the application and user categories, because the user will see those categories and description. And also what I've noticed that if you browse for those store apps, many of those apps, they don't have list Windows RT machines as a supported environment. And you have to manually enable Windows RT support. If that checkbox is not selected, those applications will not be shown for Windows RT users. Windows Phone 8 app creation is about the same. So you have that source file, so you point it to that, and then you just give the name. If it's an application in the Windows Phone Store, then when you go to browse, it actually goes directly to the Windows Phone App Store. And then if you have multiple countries within your organization, be aware that the Windows Phone App Store, it is from people from different countries, it displays different software. So then you have to decide what it would be the right language settings for Windows Internet Explorer on your machine to get those right software. And when you find the right software, just click OK, and it gives you that URL for that application. With Windows Phone applications, you cannot define any requirements. And then you need to define those properties in Application Catalog tab, and also create an available deployment and target it to a user collection. With the current release, you cannot put application to your mobile devices. It's only like that user have to initiate the software installation. And with the store app, you cannot distribute content to any DP. Well, that's natural because they already are in the cloud. And with APPX SAP apps, you should be using manage.microsoft.com DP. So let's check about those application settings. So if we go to the over here, I have an APPX application, and I have defined information in Application Catalog, and then this is for Windows RT machines. And if we go to the deployment types, edit, there's content, where the content detection method, this is populated automatically. User experience requirement. So here you should have Windows RT as a selected platform. And framework return codes. So those are a little bit different from what you have for the normal like MSI applications. And if you have these Windows Store apps, there is just a little bit different deployment type. And over here, in many cases this Windows RT checkbox is not selected by default, so that's important to make sure that it's selected. Also, there's another requirement, Windows Choice in active. And then for Windows Phone 8 applications, this is one of those example applications that is part of that trial package. So over here we have a deployment type. Over here you can see only content detection method. So no requirement, just very simple. So how do you install applications to Windows RT? So you have a company portal application on your Windows RT. You sign in, and after that you will see different categories, different software, and you select any software, and then there is over here you have a view in the Windows Store if it would be APPX application, then there's this setting to install it. For Windows Phone 8, you see the categories, you see different applications in the category. Select one of the applications, click install, and there's confirmation, and that's about it. The application monitoring is very similar for those normal Config Manager 2012 applications. You just go to the monitoring workspace and select the deployments, and you see the list of all the deployments, and you can see the statistics from there. Or you could use those normal reports, that's just fine. And over here you could see also those configuration baselines that are targeted to mobile devices. For Windows RT deployments, they are log information that is within applications and services logs, Microsoft Windows, APPX packaging OM, log file, and you have different events. So when the installation has started, or if a certificate is trusted or not done when its application is installed. Also, you have in registry, OK, current use software, Microsoft Windows, current version, MDM, job DB, information about those application process. There is no debugging or log files for Windows Phone 8 deployments, but they just work, so there's no need to do any logging for those. Last week at TechEd US, there were a couple of sessions that covered a little bit about what will be new features in Config Manager 2012 R2 regarding mobile device management. There will be support for RT, the newer version, 8.1. There was no information about if, when, and what kind of features Windows Phone 8.1 will have, or what's going to be the name of that. So I'm looking forward to get any new information about that. Hopefully at Build conference they will release some information. You could do better selective wipe, do a little more company branding. For settings management, better management for VPN, Wi-Fi, and certificate profiles. And then you can tag mobile devices as personal or corporate. And then if it's tagged personal, then there's going to be a little bit different how it handles, for example, the wipe process. So in summary, if you want to have this full management using Microsoft technologies, you need to have a Windows Intune, and I would recommend to integrate Windows Intune for Config Manager, so you would get better inventory, better reporting, monitoring. You would get all those devices in the same console, and there will be improvements in those new releases for Config Manager 2012 2 and newer Windows Intune releases. I have listed a couple of blog articles and links for those TechEd US sessions where you're going to get more information about those, especially for how to deploy that Windows Intune, ADFS, directory synchronization, because I didn't have much time to cover those feature areas in this session. So, do you have any questions? Now I should go back to the link and check if there are any questions asked. Come on. Seems to be so quiet. So either you didn't understand anything or it is too easy. My contact information will be on the last slide of the slide deck, and I suppose Terry will update the link where you're going to get this slide deck.
Yes, I will be posting a blog here shortly after we close off that will show the recording and also the location of the physical deck. So it doesn't look like we have any questions, but if anyone thinks of a question after the fact, they can email Panu directly, which is, Panu, do you want to advance to your contact slide?
Yep.
There we go. So there's his email address. And I want to thank Panu for giving his time and attention to this topic today, and for all of those of you that called in. I also just want to point out next week's session has been moved to Wednesday due to a scheduling snafu that we have with the presenter. So I've sent out an updated invite, and I'll also post that on the blogs that will be moving it to Wednesday morning versus Tuesday. So I think we're good for today. And again, Panu, thank you very much for your time and your topic today.
Thank you. I will be around about like 10 more minutes, so if anyone has any questions, so they could ask a little bit later, if that's okay for you, Carrie.
Yep, that's fine. Thank you.